Hey y'all, today I'm about to get up close and personal. Today I'm about to be exposing myself. Make it feel. Welcome to my channel, I'm Crystal Leafine. I'm a singer, songwriter, and rapper, and so much beyond. Life is full of adventures, just stick around and you see I'm so much more than just the music. There's so much more to me. I'm a daughter of the Most High, a big sister to this guy. 14 years and a lifetime to go. Being his wife, journeying through this life. We gon' laugh, learn, and cry together. But first, hit that red button, subscribe, and let's grow together. The stuff that I'll prepare you for. My body is changing. My hormones are raging. My appetite is starting to crave it. I'm exposing myself today. My biggest fears on motherhood, becoming a mom, man. This road so far has been interesting, especially being 35 and being pregnant for the first time. I have realized people have opinions about that. I don't think they know they do it. They never voice it out loud, but it's in the small things and the nuances, and stuff in between the lines. You feel where I'm coming from? And so, after I graduated from my fertility clinic at week 9, and then I didn't actually go. I had 3 appointments set before I chose my 4th doctor. And so the first one, their computers went down the day of my appointment. I was literally about to walk out the door, and she called me and said, I hope I caught you before you left. So my appointment on my doctor's office was 45 minutes away, but with Atlanta traffic, that is an hour and 30 minutes. So that was already the first red flag. Second red flag is that, it was at a hospital and they have high clientele. So I can tell I was going to be kind of like another number, but I was willing to give it a try because I heard so many good things about this doctor, and I read all of their profiles, checked all of their credentials and certifications and whatnot, and so I was like, just give it a go. The deal breaker at that particular clinic was when she called me back. It was 4:28 and they closed at 4:30. So I was on the phone. I was on hold with somebody on the phone, and so when they called, I was like, this looks like the doctor's office. I hadn't plugged it in my phone yet because I'm like, yeah, I gotta try you out before I plug you in my phone permanently. But anyway, they called me and I was on hold with somebody. And so literally after they hung up, my line was beeping. Literally when it stopped beeping, the person came back on the line and was like, started talking. I was like, oh, let me call you back because let me go ahead and call this doctor's office. And so I literally called him back at 4:29. Why did this thing say the doctor's office of such and such is not closed? And I'm like, who does that?
Run.
Does that? Who called? And then she left a voicemail saying that she was calling me for an appointment, scheduling me for an appointment the next day at 9 o'clock in the morning. Like, who calls me 2 minutes before y'all close to schedule me for an appointment at 9? So really, I just got the vibe is that she wanted to just say that she called me, and I didn't pick up. You know where I'm coming from? So I was like, So I washed my hands today. I'm like, y'all already got 3 strikes, you out. And so the second clinic, it was a miscommunication. She wasn't really clear about IVF, and I remember that because something missing with my insurance. So she was like, oh well, we're gonna go ahead and put you in the schedule, and just call us back with the insurance. So she made it seem like it was just like not a big deal situation. She's like, oh yeah, you're all set. I already put you in the system for the appointment, and just give us a call back when you get this thing about your insurance. So I called back a day later, and it might have been a day or 2 later. And so when I called back, I got a different attendant, and she was new, and she told me she was new. And when I was talking to her, she was like, oh no, we don't really have you in the system. I see that she wrote you down on this piece of paper, like an appointment paper, but not in the system. And so I gave her my insurance information, and I said, and she said, well, we'll be scheduling you with this doctor. And I'm like, this is a whole nother, because I called specifically for one doctor. I looked at these profiles for this particular doctor, and it said she was working out of this practice. And so I specifically called for that particular doctor, and she was like, our schedule is filled to this date. So when the girl told me that she had put me in an appointment, because I saw it online that she had appointments, this particular doctor had appointments for that Wednesday, and I called him that Monday or whatever day it was. It might have been a Friday. Called him that Friday, and I was supposed to have my appointment that next Wednesday. And so, long story short, I was explaining to her that I can see via IVF, and she said this doctor doesn't even see patients that can see via IVF. We have a specific doctor for patients that can see via IVF for using fertility treatments. And I explained to the first lady that I can see via IVF. And so I was so annoyed that she was like, the IVF doctor doesn't have any appointments until almost 3 weeks later. And I was like, honey, please, bye-bye. Next. And so the third OBGYN, everything was going fairly okay. I was already put off by the long wait time. My appointment was at 9:30. I didn't get seen till 10:45, and it was kind of like sketchy because, like, in the lobby where you were waiting at, it had one restroom, and so I'm like, we all peeing a lot because we all pregnant, and so I'm like, I don't see Lysol wiping here. I don't see no spray you can spray on the toilet or around the handles, and I'd be funny about that kind of stuff. I'd be funny about touching handles, and so I was flushing stuff with my feet. But then I'm like, when it comes to the sink, you know what I mean? When on paper towels, so they got the automatic situation there. So I'm like, I was just feeling real sketchy. And so, but she seen me almost an hour and a half later, and when I went back in the back, I didn't really like the vibe of the lady that was checking me in. And so she gave me the cup, and she was like, they're gonna restroom. Like, oh, so you want? I was like, I'm assuming I'm supposed to pee in the cup. And so when I finished peeing in the cup, I gave it to the lady that was shaking me in, and I let her know that I was thinking I had a UTI. I've had UTIs before, and so I know how they feel. And she was like, okay. And then she just put my cup down, like, you gonna test it? And she was like, well, if I, we'll let you know where you stand. Then when I was walking out, she said, did you hand me your cup? I was like, yeah, you put it right there. And then she was like, what's your name again? I was like, oh Lord. Oh man, I was like, oh Lord. And they never told me here or there that I had a UTI or I didn't. And so then when I went back to I didn't get to meet with the doctor because the doctor was on call for, was at a hospital delivering another child. And so I met with the nurse, which I was okay with because I understood the situation. And so when I met with the nurse, she was like super talkative. It was like 10:45 in the morning, and she was just like, da, 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 da. It's like, wow, she's saying a lot of words. And so when initially when she walked in, this is what kind of put me off. Initially when she walked in, she said, hey, good morning, how are you doing? I said, I'm doing good, but I'm a little bit nervous. And then she was like, nervous? This ain't your first child, is it? And she said, it's not like it's your first child, or is it? And I was like, why would you just assume that I got kids? Like, you don't know? Why? Like, I hate when people, if you want to tee me off, if you just want me to shut down real quick, make an assumption. I cannot stand assumptions. I'd rather you just ask me flat out. And I may get annoyed with you asking me, but I just really ask me flat out than make an assumption like that. And so I'm like, this is my first child. She was like, oh, this is your first child? And she was like, how old are you? And I'm like, 35, honey. And I'm like, not everybody, you know what I mean? Not everybody have kids at a certain age. You know what I mean? I'm like, I must not be, normal clientele. I don't know. But so she was like amazed, and I was telling her about the whole IVF situation. And then, she proceeded to talk to me like I knew exactly what she was talking about. I'm like, honey, I need you to break this all the way down. I need you to make it plain, make it simple. Because all this stuff you're talking about, maybe somebody that was on their second, third child may understand, but I don't know what you're saying. And so that wasn't the deal breaker. The deal breaker when she was like, I'm going to call in a prescription for you And me and my husband down in one car because his car is broken down right now. And so I'm dropping him off where he picks up his truck at. So my husband's a truck driver. And so I'm dropping him off where he picks his truck up at the next morning at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I can use the car to go get, to go pick up this subscription she called herself writing for me for prenatal vitamins. So I goes all the way up to my pharmacy when she said, oh yeah, she said, I'm going to go ahead and put in your prescription. You can pick it up today or tomorrow. And so I was like, oh, I'll pick it up tomorrow because I still have prenatal vitamins. Go up there to take my little happy-go-lucky self up to this pharmacy, and ain't no prescription called in, nothing. I'm like, hold up, shut up, play him, because I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go get this prescription. I was just trying to go find it because I was so annoyed. I was like, I done got up at 6 o'clock to go drop this man off in Atlanta at 6 o'clock in the morning. Oh Lord. And that was running my mind. And that was my deal breaker. And so I already had an appointment for the current OBGYN I'm at now, because I just always keep one in the bag, because they would try to make you have appointments 4 months out and you be like ready to deliver by the time you. So every time I had an appointment, I would always stagger another clinic, kind of like, you know, in that same time, because I'm like, if you don't work out, I got plan B over here, and I'm not waiting on 2 and 3 or 4 weeks. And so when I went to this fourth OBGYN, I made it plain for her. I said, honey, I'm 35, this is my first ever pregnancy, and I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I need you to make it plain, make it simple. And you know what, actually that was an icebreaker, because after that, you know, we was cool. And when she was talking about blood, she went through the whole process of what to expect from her, you know, what to expect in this process, how everything's going to move forward. She even broke down the blood test, when they test for me and when they test for the baby, what they're testing for, how many ultrasounds I'm going to expect and what the ultrasounds would entail, what they're looking for in these ultrasounds. And so I was so appreciative of that. And that is why I stayed with that OBGYN, because she was so thorough and understanding. And you may, you know, any first time moms out there that's going through the same process, like, you may have to go through a few clinics and never settle. Never settle, and make sure that you're heard. What this journey has taught me, just in IVF in general, you don't know what you don't know until you don't know you know it. And this is my fear, because even going into my first transfer, I didn't know a lot of things, and I just allowed people with degrees to kind of just like, you know, float me along this process, and I didn't realize I had a voice in this too. And so I beat myself up a lot after my first transfer, because there was a lot of things I didn't know, like a hysteroscopy, and people with endometriosis. Maybe, you know, I had a laparoscopy last year in May, but however, you know, I was under the impression that endometriosis take 18 months to 24 months to come back, and that wouldn't be a problem. So, and my doctor also said that too. He was like, you know, when you haven't had laparoscopy last year, you know, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't have risk seeing what happens. You know what I mean? That was kind of like the philosophy. Let's see what happens with this first embryo. And I'm like, you know, it made sense at the time. Well, I had a laparoscopy, I'll probably be fine. You know, I was still in this kind of like naivete kind of mindset, like the first transfer, like IVF fixes all. I really hadn't prepared myself on what this entails. And so I was upset with myself, because I didn't know what I didn't know until I didn't know I knew it. And so I think that's how I'm trying to say it. I don't know what I don't know until I don't know I know it. Until I knew that I didn't know. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't know what I don't know until I know I didn't know it. And so after the first transfer, I started really looking more into health and fitness and diet and laparoscopies and stuff like that. And so, I mean, not like hysteroscopies. And so when this was suggested to me in my second transfer, you know, and also I did not get my first embryo PGT tested, so I didn't know if it was me or the embryo or both. And so that's why I kind of beat myself up a lot, like I had failed my first child by not being well versed on what IVF entails and my options. And so that's why I have not settled, and I refuse to settle with anybody. I don't care what anybody else experiences. This is just my experience uniquely with you. So I can read all your profiles and see 5 stars, 4 stars, 4.5 stars. It don't matter. All I'm worried about now is the relationship between me and my doctor. This experience, not everybody else's experience. And so I have learned to advocate for myself, learned to ask questions, and it's okay. And it is hard going through my first pregnancy, doing all these things and by myself. Even though in Atlanta nobody is practicing COVID safety, pretty much everywhere you go nobody has masks. At least on this side of town anyway. Especially when you go to places like Noonan, or I guess it's not really considered Atlanta, but when you go to places like Noonan, ain't no mask. When you go to places like Buckhead and stuff like that, ain't no mask. You know what I mean? From the last time I went up there. And so I don't be seeing no mask. But the hospitals and stuff like that, the doctor's office, they don't let your spouse come in. And when I'm in there, I have to wear a mask, which is understandable, and I don't contest that. And so my husband's not with me on this journey, and it has been a lot to navigate by myself, because when we was at our fertility clinic, he can come, and my husband, he gonna ask 50 million questions. He gonna ask questions I ain't even begin to think about. So not having him here and having to just do all the thinking, studying, because like before I go to my appointments, like in a few more weeks I'm going to have my anatomy scan, and so I'm looking at other anatomy scans, I'm looking at what other people are asking, what I'm supposed to be looking for and stuff like that, or what they're looking for. So I'm trying to make sure I'm well versed on things, because now I have to be my husband's set of eyes and my set of eyes. And so that has been the hardest thing, navigating through this process by myself for the first time. And a lot of people just assume that you know what you're doing at 35, and I understand, because when I was 19, 18, 17, I looked at 35-year-olds and older like you're in this arrived space and you have life all figured out. And now that I am 35, I'm like, yeah, I'm still learning, I ain't got nothing figured out, I'm winging it, sis. I made winging it look good, don't I? Because I have no clue what I'm doing. And there's always this grace for people under 25 that people over 25 and older don't really get, because people feel like we've already been there, done that, and they don't do it knowingly. It's just a kind of unconscious situation. So I don't really hold too many grudges, but it is kind of annoying being on your first time pregnant, being first time and being your first time mom, first time being pregnant, and doing all this by myself, and not really feeling like I get to have the experience of somebody kind of understanding my naivete. Is always like, well, what you don't know, don't look for me to hold your hand because you're 35. You gotta have it figured out. You don't get some of these same graces and understanding that and they don't do it, say it to my face verbatim, but it's always kind of like you can see the underlying stuff of it. I don't care, because I'm gonna ask them questions, and I know I be getting on these folks' nerves, but I don't care. I don't care about, I care about me and mine. I don't care about what it look like. I don't care about what it sound like. All I care is about taking care of me and my baby. And so, oh well. Y'all gonna deal with me till April the 9th, and then, or whatever, April the 8th, and then y'all can give me the peace sign. Y'all ain't gotta hear from me no more. But I'm gonna ask every question. I be emailing my doctor. Like, I'll look it up on YouTube, or if I have, if I feel a certain situation, I'll look it up on YouTube. I don't find the answers there. I don't find the answers on Google. I don't find the answers on the ebook in my library. I'm emailing my doctor, and I don't care. And if I don't get a response in 24, 48 hours, I'm emailing you again, and then I'm called. And so I don't even care. And so all I care about is me and my baby. And so that has been my biggest fear, because I feel like I let my first baby down, and not knowing what I didn't know with my first transfer, not really understanding the concept of PGT testing, and not really understanding my options for my first transfer, and advocating for those options. And so I think a lot of that comes from that guilt. I feel like I failed, because I think it kind of comes back up to because I had my first transfer in February. So now that it's November, this would have been the time that I would have had my first child. And so that first transfer would have been successful. I'll be welcoming my first child in the month of November. And so that's been a lot of process. The guilt ate me up, and I'm still dealing with a lot of that, and I'm not running in fear from those feelings. And so I'm just giving them voices, and I'm giving them spaces, and I'm allowing myself to grieve properly. And so it's okay. And so now with my baby, that's why I make sure I ask everything I can ask. I look up everything I can look up, because people will just brush you along. They'll treat you just like they treat the last 50 patients, but they don't know your unique situation. Everybody's body's unique, and a lot of times, because they do this every day, doctors and nurses, they do this all the time, every day, you kind of get brushed along. You know what I mean? And that's how they have to do it, because they have so many patients. And I understand that, but I'm going to still ask questions. And so just because you understand something, that don't mean you have to bow down to it. And so I don't really care. All I care about is having my baby safely in my arms on April the 8th. I don't care about your feelings. I don't care about understanding. I don't care about perceptions or how you perceive me. I don't care. All I care about is holding my baby in my arms on April the 8th. And that is my mindset. And so but that has been one of my biggest fears, is failing as a mom, because I love my baby so much. I love my baby more than I can put words together. The love that I have for my unborn child in my stomach is beyond me. It's beyond anything I have ever felt. My baby's so little, so innocent, and just, my baby means the world to me. And I hate feeling like this world of mine is just another client to somebody else. You know what I mean? My baby is my world. I love this baby so much, and I know my husband does too. And this baby is us, our love. And to think that some people just want to just pass you along, and they don't really understand all you had to go through to get here, and all the things you put your body through to get here. It's just beyond me. So I have to advocate for me. They will never understand, and I'm not expecting them to understand, because this is uniquely my walk. I cannot look for people to be like, oh man, or looking for empathy from other people that they're not going to give. And I have to do the caring for me and mine. And so, because nobody else is going to say, oh, I care so much about what you've been through. Let me, Oh man, they're never going to show up that way. So I have to do the caring for me and mine. And that is what I'm doing. I'm admitting my fears. I'm processing my guilt. And I am trying to move forward to be the best mama bear I can be right now. And that is a fear of failing my child in that way. And that's why I ask so many questions. I'm not afraid to look foolish. I don't care about what you do to me, how you come out to me, you got an attitude with me. All I care about is this baby. You know what I mean? You can do me any kind of way. Not any kind of way. But you can, you can come at me any kind of way, but not me and my baby. When it comes down to this baby, I do not play. Lord Jesus, no, I don't play. I don't play about this baby. But nonetheless, y'all, that is me exposing myself, exposing my fear. If you're a first time mom, I know I'm almost 5 months, so I'm 4.5 months now. If you're a first time mom and you're trying to figure out this whole OBGYN, never settle. Don't settle, sweetie. Don't settle. Because people will treat you any old kind of way, and you'll be left with the hurt. If something go wrong, you'll be left with trying to put together pieces, and they'll be done moved on with their own client. You have to advocate for you. Never settle on a doctor that just make you feel like another number, because this your world, this your love, this your life, and you have to advocate for that. And some will never do it, and you stop looking for them to do it. You got to do it for you. And that's just plain and simple. But anyway, that's all I have for you guys on this video. I will be starting a series called Healing, and I'll be talking about some of these subjects more in depth, about how I'm healing, in a lot of areas of my life as I step into motherhood, because it is definitely a reality check. It's a wake-up call. And so I have been, since I have not been working, I have more time to think, which is good and bad, but I have more time to kind of process certain things that I want to heal from before welcoming my little new life, so I can be free to love and free to give my baby the proper care that he or she needs. So yep, until next time, peace.